Going back now to our top story of the mishap that took place in Delhi this morning. A BSF aircraft crashed after takeoff near Delhi airport. The aircraft reportedly had 10 passengers. All of them have died. As per sources, they were engineering officers and other personnel headed to Ranchi. The aircraft took off at 9:30 this morning, and a few minutes later, the pilot discovered and reported a technical snag. He then attempted to return to the aircraft, asking the ATC to do so, and while doing so, the aircraft hit a wall before it could even land. The crash occurred at Shahbad Muhammadpur area of Dwarka in Delhi. The location is right next to the Delhi airport. In fact, across the wall from the airport towards the Dwarka area. Fire tenders and NDRF teams have reached the site. Home Minister Rajnath Singh is at the crash site at the moment. DG BSF is also going to be going to the crash site in just a bit. In fact, our correspondent Chirag Goti spoke with a lot of eyewitnesses. Let's try and listen into some of them. All right, that's what you can see on your television screen is the exact site where this crash took place this morning. Fire tenders, 15 to 20 of them already there. They were in fact there much earlier trying to douse the fire and look for any survivors, if at all. But there were 10 passengers, and what we know at the moment is that all the 10 have died in that mishap this morning. Jugal Purohit is now joining us with more details. Jugal, what more do we know of how this crash took place? I mean, we do know it's too early to ascertain the cause, but prima facie, what does it look like?
Well, you see, Maha, the details that we've been able to gather till now paint a very, very unfortunate picture of this event. This particular aircraft, Super King B200, took off from the technical area of Palam, and as soon as it took off, the pilot actually requested the ATC for clearance to land. Obviously, he was aware of a problem which had taken place. After that, we are given to understand that it was approaching the runway number 10 of the airport, which is when this particular crash took place. In the last moments, we are given to understand the pilot could not really make contact with the ATC, and the aircraft in that sense spun completely out of control. That's what's happened here on the ground. That's what we can tell you after talking to the ATC, to the BSF as well as to the local police. It paints a picture of a situation which went out of hand, and Maha, we are here at the site. This area has been effectively and thankfully cordoned off by the administration. As you can see, important authorities. The Lieutenant Governor of Delhi has also arrived. So has the Home Minister. Needless to say, officials from the BSF, from the Home Ministry are all here. This was a Ministry of Home Affairs Air Wing aircraft. Okay. This Air Wing is largely operated by the BSF, and there are about 17 aircraft that this particular Air Wing has. 13 of them helicopters and 4 are fixed wing aircraft, of which one Super King B200 is now no more in that list. That's what's happened here on the ground. As you rightly pointed out, Maha, it's too early for us to speculate the cause, but let me just give you a sense of what I am seeing out here. All around me, you're seeing that there is adequate police presence. There is barricading that has happened. The site has fortunately been completely secured to ensure that the forensics, the investigation, all of that takes place in an orderly fashion. This is actually a very effective cordon of sorts that the police, the NDRF and others have effected out here, which will go a long way in ensuring we know precisely what happened and the reason behind what happened and why it happened. So that's what's taking place here on the ground, Maha. 9:50 a.m. is what we understand this particular aircraft reported this issue, and subsequently in the next few minutes it wasn't there anymore. One Sashastra Seema Bal, that's the other paramilitary force of the MHA, the co-pilot was a deputy commandant rank officer. We have all the names of those on board, but we are not flashing them for this, for the only reason that it is for these organizations to first tell the next of kin of those who were deceased in this particular incident, and it's only once they do the formality of informing the family in an orderly fashion can we make the names public. We are having it, but we won't release it for this particular procedures to take place.
All right. That's what Jugal, let's quickly listen in to Mahesh Sharma, who's speaking at the moment, and then I'll come back to you.
देखिए, चिंता का विषय है कि ये हमारा जो BSF का ब्रेवो 200 जहाज था, ये टेक ऑफ के तुरंत बाद ही क्रैश कर गया। और उसमें दुख की बात यह है कि जो सब 10 लोग थे पायलट समेत, उन सभी की मृत्यु हो गई है। अब यह जांच का विषय है कि सिक्योरिटी में या क्या कारण रहे, या भी माननीय गृह मंत्री जी भी वहां पहुंच गए हैं और हमारे सभी DGC के सभी अधिकारी वहां पहुंच गए। जांच के बाद ही हम अगला विषय बता पाएंगे कि आखिरकार ये लैप्स क्यों हुआ, क्या कारण रहे हैं इसके, और आगे से इसकी अगर एनालिसिस करनी पड़ी कि अगर छोटे प्लेन्स के लिए सिक्योरिटी और किसी विषय में, लेकिन मुझे लगता नहीं, क्योंकि सिक्योरिटी के सभी कारणों की जांच पहले की जाती है। इस केस के अंदर क्या हुआ है ये जांच के बाद ही पता कर पाएंगे।
All right, let me go back to Jugal Purohit, our correspondent, joining us from the site where this unfortunate incident took place this morning. Jugal, what are eyewitnesses telling you over there? What exactly did they see this morning?
Well, Maha, that's another very, very relevant topic of discussion. What is it that those who were outside this area saw? And what were the final moments of the Super King B200 like? What we understand from them, and these are residents of the area where I am standing right now, where the plane had its final moments, the crew had its final moments. They say that they saw the aircraft behaving in a rather weird fashion. They couldn't make sense of just how an aircraft was performing an uncontrolled, or rather an uncontrollable maneuver that they saw. Maha, also let me tell you on the screen, what you are seeing is the police effectively ensuring that the crowd, journalists, all of us are kept away from the site as much as possible. There are two VVIPs out there, the Home Minister and the Lieutenant Governor, and of course there are those investigators, more importantly, who are there at the site collecting what will perhaps help us understand what took place. Maha, I was telling you about the final moments of this particular crash. Those outside, the eyewitnesses tell us that they weren't able to understand just how could an aircraft perform an uncontrollable maneuver, and in those final few moments the aircraft came and hit a wall, is what they told us when we spoke to them a short while ago. Clearly the final few moments were that of complete disbelief, completely things going out of hand. And as I was just telling you, Maha, what we understand from the ATC sources is that after the pilot secured the permission to land on runway number 10, from that point onwards there was absolutely no contact, which tells us that after those few seconds, perhaps the matter had gone beyond the reach of the pilot, the co-pilot and the crew, and of course what took place then was fait accompli.
Jugal, you know, it is very surprising and hard to understand for most people is that this flight had just taken off and the pilot discovered a technical snag. What is the standard operating procedure to check for technicalities in an aircraft of this nature, especially Super King B200 as you're mentioning?
That's right, Maha. A couple of things which have to be understood is that this Super King aircraft is among the most versatile, most reliable planes that have been in use in the West, especially in the United States where it is manufactured, and particularly for this air wing, that's where it is overhauled. Now for any machine, Maha, which takes to the air, there are a number of checks which happen before which the aircraft is allowed the permission to fly. The technical side is ascertained, the mechanical side, the engineering side, the crew's health, all of it is ascertained before it is allowed to take off, and one has no reason why not to think, or rather why to think that something like this wasn't followed in this particular case. Maha, let me also tell you that from the point of view of aviation, our viewers should understand that perhaps the most difficult, perhaps the most challenging parts of any flight are those which are just immediately after taking off and those just before landing. These are the 2 points which are the most crucial, and it's actually in these 2 times is when most of those accidents in aviation history are known to have occurred. So we can say, from what limited information we have, is that this aircraft had to perform both of these maneuvers immediately after taking off. It called and it reported the ATC that it needed permission to land, and obviously it couldn't do the landing that it was trying to do at the runway number 10. So that's the sense, Maha, that we get, that in aviation parlance, nothing is kept to chance. And in this particular case also, the MHA air wing under which this particular plane operated, there's no reason for us to doubt the procedures. But yes, an inquiry will have to be undertaken. The BSF has already announced a court of inquiry by procedure. The DGCA, the Civil Aviation Regulator, has announced one, and so has the Civil Aviation Ministry. Three inquiries which will be conducted simultaneously into this affair to ascertain just what happened, which caused this very, very ghastly and unfortunate crash outside Delhi. Back to you.
Right, Jugal, also, help us understand what kind of evidence is collected from the crash site, because we can see that a lot of people, onlookers, have gathered over there, creating perhaps problems for the authorities at the moment.
That's right, Maha. That's always a very, very important and a difficult task to handle. But I can report to you with some satisfaction out here that we have been kept away from the site of the crash by almost 500 to 600 meters as we speak. This is the outer periphery of the place where the crash has taken place. From here, it's about 300 to 400 meters from the scene that you see on the camera. That's where the actual site is now. Answering your question, what is collected? Well, of course, as of now, the human remains of all the 10 the crew members will be picked up to hand them over after a post-mortem to their loved ones, the next of kin, as it is called in technical parlance. Apart from that, there will be obviously the flight data recorder, which will undergo a thorough examination. The black box, as most people understand, that is what will be pulled out, and a detailed investigation of the same will follow, because it's in those final few seconds that whatever has been the action, the conversation, the discussion, the panic perhaps, all of it is recorded in that particular data recorder, which will give us our answers that we so want right now into just why what happened took place. And remember, it has been a practice, Maha. Whenever the aircraft is of a particular make, in this particular case, it's an American aircraft, or rather it's an American manufactured aircraft. Very often we've seen, just to get to the bottom of the case, the flight data recorder, or the black box as is commonly known, is sent back to the original equipment manufacturer, which in this particular case could see all of this being sent to the United States for a detailed investigation, which pins the blame or tells us just what took place. So apart from the human remains, the flight data recorder, whatever else the investigators can lay their hands on will be picked up. The relevant authorities from the DGCA, the Aviation Ministry, they're all here as we speak, Maha. And the investigation is proceeding. Also, very importantly for our viewers, the Delhi airport is operational. There was some talk of it being suspended for a few seconds or for a few minutes after this crash, but the Delhi airport is operational, and as I said, 2 VVIPs are here at the site as we speak, the Home Minister of the country and the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. Back to you.
Jugal, what we'll do right now is we'll put out an animation graphic of what we know happened to this aircraft right after takeoff, and just take us through the details that you're getting, so that on the left-hand side at the moment we can see those animation graphics. Jugal, take us through what you've learned from the ATC and the eyewitnesses.
Well, Maha, as I was just recounting to you, this particular aircraft had a pilot, co-pilot, as well as 8 crew members. All of them were bound for Ranchi. It was being flown by a pilot from the Border Security Force as well as a co-pilot from the Sashastra Seema Bal. Both of them deputy commandant rank officers, qualified in their rights to fly this particular plane from the MHA's air wing. At about 9:50 is when we are given to understand it took off, and immediately it made a call to the air traffic control room, telling the personnel out there that it needed an immediate clearance to land on account of some troubles which we aren't aware as of now, but we are trying to find out. No sooner did it get a clearance to land on the runway number 10 of this particular airport, the IGI of Delhi, is when we are given to understand by the outside people, those eyewitnesses who had the opportunity to see this particular aircraft in its final few moments. They tell us that what they saw, those few fleeting seconds, what they saw were actually the ones in which they saw the plane completely going out of hands, completely uncontrollable, and it slammed right into a wall before turning into a ball of fire. and that's the story that has taken place roughly about 90 minutes from right now. That's what has unfolded, and in these last 90 minutes, Maha, we've seen the local police, the NDRF, those from the fire department of the local administration coming in large numbers. As I was just telling you, two VVIPs, the Home Minister of the country as well as the Lieutenant Governor, the constitutional head of Delhi, also at the site, and so are different officials from the MHA, from the DGCA, that's the Civil Aviation Regulator, as well as the Civil Aviation Ministry and the local authorities. They're here on the site, and investigation is proceeding as it should. Fortunately, Maha, the site has been secured and there is no interference taking place as we speak. Back to you.
All right, so where Jugal is standing is the outer periphery of where the crash took place. As he explains to us, 500 to 600 meters away from the crash site is where all the people have been asked to remain, not go any further as evidence is being collected. Also, remember, mortal remains of those on board have to be removed from the crash site as well. Jugal is going to stay on with us. We're taking a very quick break now, but we'll be back with more details.
There was a major goof-up this year in one of the most coveted beauty pageants, Miss Universe. The 2015 host for the ceremony, Steve Harvey, declared Miss Colombia the winner when in fact she was actually the first.